Hey, how are we? Well, finally getting around to shooting another video. So, a lot happening in the world, and it's not anything that's unexpected, particularly if you've been following my videos for a while. As much as I've not put a lot of videos out for a while, if you've been watching things over the last 12 months, then you'll be well and truly aware of where I was suggesting things were going to go, and I think we're well and truly there now. So yeah, it's really not boding well. I think one of the biggest things that people need to be really aware of at the moment is the unpegging of the US currency as the global reserve currency. That's the big headline. And you know, while they were arresting and indicting Trump, and they're really just obfuscating the what's happening financially and economically and also geopolitically, they've been doing this stuff in the background. And it's fascinating to watch because, you know, this is really a paradigm shifting event. This is something that's going to completely change the world order in the long run. Though, you know, I do want to err on the side of caution and just sort of say, hey, look, this may not, you know, happen overnight. What you'll find is that this is going to sort of play out over a longer period of time, and this is going to, yeah, certainly at some point we'll wake up one day and the whole sort of global order will have changed. But this is going to happen over a long period of time, and the thing that you have to really take into account here is that the US still spends $752 billion in military spending every year, and that is basically the sum total combined of, I think, the top 3 or 4 economies. So this is not you know, any small amount. So if people think that they're going to usurp the US as the global dominant power overnight, it's just not going to happen. My big concern is that as the US starts to spiral out of control economically and geopolitically, I think you could see some major conflicts start to break out. In particular, now that we're seeing those leaked documents, we know for certain what we assumed, and that was that the US was actually involved in the war in Ukraine. And now we know that they are 100% involved. And so you have 2 nuclear superpowers, Russia and the US, in an armed conflict. And I think it's Thucydides' trap, which basically says that you know, wars between declining and ascending superpowers are usually fought via proxy in neighbouring countries, and I think that's what we're seeing at the moment in Ukraine. We're probably going to see it also happen in Taiwan. The big thing with Taiwan is that it is the major superconductor in the world, and that who controls the superconductors will control the 21st century. I think the other big factor in that is going to be whoever develops and controls AI and masters artificial intelligence is going to be a very strong power to be reckoned with. I know a lot of people are talking up China, they're talking up the yuan, but the problem with China and the yuan is that the yuan is a centrally managed currency, as I suppose you could argue with the Federal Reserve managing the US currency. But in saying that, no one trusts China to manage the Chinese yuan for the benefit of international trade. And I think the opacity with the management of that currency would always be in question. And so I think what we're probably going to see is the adoption of either a Bitcoin or other currencies, a basket of other currencies, as being the global reserve currency. So, you know, we're starting to see some of the BRICS countries trading amongst each other without using US dollars. This is going to have a significant effect, particularly on developing economies, as the need for US dollars will lessen because they don't need the US currency for trade. Those US dollars will flow back into the US. That's going to cause upward pressure on inflation, and that's going to cause the Federal Reserve to put interest rates up, even though the US economy is going to be declining. And it's going to require economies and countries like Thailand and developing countries around the world who have borrowed their debt in US dollars to require more of those US dollars to pay their debt down. So look, it's a double whammy. It's going to be a really difficult time for developing economies and very destabilizing. So just be particularly mindful of this during this time. I did sort of make an offer yesterday on the Overseas Exiles Telegram group, and basically said, look, if you want to consult with myself and some of the guys that work with me in regards to relocating, happy to do that. We don't do it for free, and I refuse to do it for free. Just the same way that you wouldn't work for free, I don't work for free either. You get the expertise and the experience and the skill set that comes with relocating and identifying the appropriate places around the world to relocate to with that. So, you know, I'm happy to give out information on this channel, and that will always continue. We'll also be developing our own social media platform. So that is on the cusp of being released at the moment, but at the end of the day, it takes time and a lot of expense. Nothing's free. So it costs time and money. So yeah, anyway, we're actually looking at relocating pretty soon. We're getting into the early stages of that at the moment, and we'll be heading back to Europe, heading back to Greece, and we've identified what I think is really some of the top places in Europe to head to. So I think that's probably going to be a far safer place, and it's also going to be very close to food production and supply, and particularly our own. We're looking at buying a little farm or a vineyard, and so yeah, we're looking at relocating. And look, early days yet, got a lot to go, but we're looking at doing that sooner rather than later. Thailand for me is not really working out. I think if you know, you're a friend of mine here in Thailand, you know full well some of my disgruntled opinions about what happens here. At the moment it's about 34, 35 degrees. The humidity is through the roof, and you know, I'm just recovering from a week-long bout of some sort of rash head to toe. You know, hands swollen, full of blisters, feet swollen with blisters, swollen joints. It's been a real nightmare. But as I said, on the mend now. Believe it or not, I get up in the morning and I don't actually look in the mirror too often. And last Monday, you know, I was speaking to my wife, and my wife goes, "What the hell has happened to you?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" and I looked in the mirror and it looked like I had had an argument with a beehive. So I've not been a happy chappy for about a week, not been able to do work, have not been able to even pick up a pen, type. These little blisters all over my hands where it just feels like anything that I touch is like handling a porcupine. It's been absolutely excruciating, just terrible. It's about the 5th time that I've been really sick here in Thailand since I've been here. And prior to that, I'd been 10 years without getting sick. So Thailand really is not suiting me at all. There's a lot of frustrations that I have here as well, the way that things are done, and you know, frustrations with dealing with people and getting services done, and it's just a nightmare. So, you know, I'll be leaving. I still hold that Southeast Asia is going to be one of the up-and-coming places in the next 10, 20 years. Throughout the next probably quarter of this century, at least. But it's just not for me. And the other thing is that with the geopolitical and economic instability that that is starting to ensue, you really want to be amongst your own breed, so to speak. And I feel sorry for people who are in, say, South America or in Asia, and they've settled in and they think this is it. There's going to be a lot of opportunistic crime, particularly as things become very unstable and very scarce. And so that's always been the case, particularly in developing economies where people live hand to mouth, so to speak. There are some super wealthy people here in Thailand, for example, but the majority of people are really on subsistence living, and it's not a good position to be in. The other thing that really concerns me, you know, for example, I'm just going to use a cliche here, but you know, white guys that come over here and try and get a younger Thai girlfriend and try and get some companionship. You know, and then they get involved with their extended families and all the other bits and pieces that go with it. And, you know, it really is just dangerous territory to do that. If you are going to do that, I strongly suggest that you relocate where your spouse or your significant other is away from their support network. And the reason why I say that is you're going to quickly know where the relationship's going once your significant other is away from their support network, because it'll become very clear very quickly. The other thing is that, you know, having looked at this stuff in the past and seen some of the tragedies, it's always when a foreigner gets involved with a woman in a foreign country, and then what happens is that they get sidelined by that woman's family and relatives and extended network, and the next thing you know, tragedy ensues. It happens a lot, trust me. So I think one of the things that you should be looking at is missing persons in developing economies. So and so I just, you know, that is a word of caution. Just be very cautious, particularly as we head into very uncertain, very unstable times. You need to be very cautious of this sort of stuff. So anyway, all that negativity and all that aside, for me, it'll be going back to Europe. My wife is pretty happy about the whole prognosis, and there's other friends of mine that are coming as well. In regards to consultancy, if you are interested, look, it's not cheap, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. In saying that, if I had had somebody to streamline the process for me to, you know, find a property or an appropriate property, and get in touch with lawyers and be set up with visas and banks and all this sort of stuff, I would have jumped at the chance, because with the amount that it costs to set it up, we would have saved more money than our actual permanent residency last time. So just be very cautious when you're dealing with different people in other countries, because you can get screwed. So, yeah, as I said, I've got 2 spots left in the next 10 weeks. So if you are interested in that, then get in touch with me, send me a private message, and we'll look after you. I have to fly myself and business partners and other people over there, so it's not cheap for me to just up and head off and meet you and then spend the week with you, with lawyers and real estate agents, shortlisted properties and all that sort of stuff. It takes time and it's not cheap. So, so just keep that in mind. As I said, I don't work for free. Anyway, so that's that. So we've talked about the real issue here is the dethroning of the US currency as the global reserve status. We've talked about some of the effects on the developing economies, and some of the pitfalls that go along with that. You know, the rise of Asia, absolutely believe in that, but it's going to be very treacherous. Different value systems, and you are, doesn't matter where you go in Asia, they always class us as white ghosts. And you know, even in Thailand they say phalang, something like that, and basically it means white. It's like a white fruit, but if you actually press the matter, it means white ghost or white devil, and it's the same thing as I think it's in China, I think, Exile, which means white devil as well. So, you know, they class us as devils, but I tell you what, some of the stuff that I've seen happen in Asia is is borderline hellish. Life is cheap. So, be very cautious. Anyway, it's nice warm weather, certainly not cold, miserable Greece in the middle of winter. But there are options to that. There are options to avoid 2 or 3 months of nightmarish cold weather in Europe. So stay tuned for that later on. But in the short term, we'll be going through that process of getting our visas sorted out for the Schengen zone, acquiring that property in one of the most idyllic places. And I'm not going to give this out only to people who get into the consultancy. We will recommend it and then recommend other places if they so choose. But yeah, I can't wait to get there, to be honest. So, got that coming up. It's going to be a busy couple of months and a lot of work. As I said to a friend of mine who's actually looking at coming over with us and buying properties, you know, you need to get all those documents apostatized, and you need to oh, it's all these birds that are on the ground. It's quite bizarre. They must be, I don't know if you can see that, no, because it's got the filter on, but there's all these birds that are on the ground, obviously catching little insects or something. But yeah, definitely looking forward to buying some properties overseas and getting settled and getting close to the land again. So, and getting away from this humidity. It is just unbearable. It really is. It's quite extraordinary. So anyway, guys, I think I'm going to leave that there. If you haven't liked and subscribed to the channel, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Go to Overseas Exiles on Facebook and sign up there. And we've got the Telegram group where we do most of our communication now on Telegram rather than any other part. Anyway guys, just as another indicator of how hot it is here, my phone switched off. So I don't know where I was up to on that, but anyway, if you're not on the Overseas Exiles Facebook group, sign up there, or you can join the Overseas Exiles Telegram group. The link, I think, will be in the Facebook group. So yeah, you can certainly go over there and sign up and join the discussion. Yeah, I'm going to have to finish this up before my phone switches itself off because of the heat. That's how crazy hot it is here. Anyway guys, I'm going to leave that there, and I'll do more videos in the next couple of days. All right.